The BMW Motorcycle Owners of America present the Airhead 247 Short Wheelbase. With members in all 50 states, Canada, and across the globe, the BMW MOA invites you to ride inspired. Learn more about membership benefits, including roadside assistance, tire hazard protection, and more at bmwmoa.org. The Short Wheelbase is also brought to you by Boxer 2 Valve, supplier of quality OEM and aftermarket parts and specialty tools, and by Barrington Motor Works, offering mail-order component repair and in-house mechanical services for vintage and classic BMW motorcycles. On the web at barringtonmotorworks.com.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 45 of the Short Wheelbase podcast. We have yet another Carver in the house today. Eli Carver, welcome to the Short Wheelbase. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, glad to have you. Folks, if you haven't figured this out yet, this is the last of the Carvers that we've been able to get a hold of. That I mean, maybe I'm wrong, Eli. Are there other Carvers that have Airheads that I don't know about that I should be giving a call?
I do have a girlfriend, and I bought an ST, and she's talking about maybe doing something fun with it at some point. So, you know,
okay.
we might add another one there, but for now, this is where we're at.
All right, sounds good. Well, folks, we're going to do another show and tell episode, and we're just going to jump right on into it with the standard questions. To start it out, what year and model Airhead are we looking at here?
This right here is a 1981 R80G/S. Apparently, the slash is important. I call them all GSs, but yes, this is a very early one. Also, according to what I've looked at, this is the 134th GS ever built.
Wow, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
Pretty early in the run.
Very early 1981 GS. Yeah.
Cool. So how long have you owned it, and how did it come into your ownership?
So I have owned it about 3 years. There's a guy locally here in Central Texas, Mikey Orlock, he has Martindale Motorcycle Works. He turned me on to it. Mikey is not a GS fan, and he knows that I am. So he turned me on to it and said, hey, there's a guy that's selling. See, here comes my dog. He said, I know
right,
a guy.
We got a guest. Love it.
Yeah, I know a guy that's selling a GS. It is fully disassembled, and if you're a smart man, you'll call him and see if you can swing it. And so
Right,
the crank was out, the transmission was in boxes. I mean, everything was fully disassembled. It was powder coated and painted. All the parts were clean, and I got bags and bags of BMW parts. I mean,
nice.
From washers and springs that were all in packages that I had to Google the part numbers and see if they were engine parts or transmission parts or what they did, you know. And so I bought it like that about 3 years ago, and over the course of I don't know, maybe 8 months or so, I finally was able to put it together.
Sweet. Well, that answers my next question. My next question was going to be what condition it was in, but it sounds like it was in boxes. It was the
in
condition.
Boxes. So the guy I bought it from is actually his name is Carl Santora, and a lot of folks might know him as Flying Teapot. He makes the side stands for the GSs, but he's also an excellent machinist. He does a lot of head work and engine transmission work. You know, he does all that stuff. And so he bought it about 20 something years ago, and rode it to Mexico, Copper Canyon, doing some trips like that. And his plan was to do this to it and ship it to Mongolia and ride it in Mongolia. So he disassembled it about 20 years ago, took it apart, cleaned it up, and then put it in boxes. He put it in boxes and had it in a bedroom for like 20 years, and then decided, I guess, I'm not going to be able to get to it. And so he had reached out to some of his contacts to try and sell it. And I went, ooh, that looks like something I should pick up.
Yeah, sounds like a great project. Typically the next question I ask is what's the first thing you fixed or changed, but I have to imagine it was just getting it put together was the first thing you did.
Yeah, man. The first thing I did was honestly like Googling part numbers, like I said, and looking at a lot of exploded diagrams. You know, the forks were fully disassembled. I have worked on and built a good handful of Airhead stuff, and I'm fairly familiar with them, but it sure as heck is a lot easier to put it back together when you're the one that took it apart.
For sure.
So
For sure.
this was a Lego set with no instruction book, and so yeah, the first thing I did was really just start going through the bags and boxes of parts, trying to figure out what I had, what was missing, what I had two and three of, what was redundant, what I needed, that type of stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Cool.
it was just trying to take inventory of what I had just, if I just made a terrible decision or not,
I know that feeling very well.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm also not a big GS. I don't dislike them. I just don't have a lot of experience with GSs.
Right.
So from what I'm seeing on the screen here, it looks like a pretty stock build. Did you build this up to be original, or is it customized in any way?
It is not original at all. I think it's a very good representation of what a old GS can be with some modern stuff going on, but it's also not far from original. In '81, this was before they did the Paris Dakar kit, so obviously the tank is not original. Um, but then it does have the side covers, which in the later '80s, if you had the Paris Dakar kit, it didn't have side covers. So
Okay.
sometimes people look at it and go, oh, well, that's not a Paris Dakar, stuff like that. Um, I also have Racetech emulators in the front forks and an Öhlins rear shock, so that's a little bit different. In '81, the rear fender would have been black, and it is currently white. You can kind of see right
Mm.
here. Um, all of the frame and the swing arm and the components are all powder coated instead of painted. Um, some stuff like that going on, and so it's not an original build by any means, but at the same
Right.
time, it's sort of a modernized version of it, but it's not far from it. It's not like a Resto Mod or some of the crazier, more custom things that I've done and a lot of people do as well.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, like I said, I'm not super familiar with the GSs, but looking at it right now, I would have just thought it was the bone stock bike because
Yeah,
it looks like something BMW would have done. It looks great.
it is essentially. I actually did not put any sort of upgraded or aftermarket electronics in it. It has a rebuilt stock bean can, stock charging system, that type of stuff. So it's all been just really reliable for me over the years as well, using that stuff. And so I just kind of put it back together in that manner.
Cool. So out of the few small tweaks that you did make to it, what would you say is your favorite modification that you've done?
The suspension upgrade helped a lot. I've ridden some older stuff that has more like stock shocks and stuff on it. And so these front ends can get a little noodly feeling, people say. And so those Racetech emulators really help with that.
Mhm.
And obviously a custom Öhlins doesn't hurt for a rear rear shock.
For sure.
It's just a
Cool.
really, really good running, smooth running bike, but at the same time, it's rebuilt from the crank out. So I would hope it is.
Nice. Is there anything that you still need to get done on it that's just been like something you've been putting off or that's been nagging you that you haven't gotten to yet?
Miles. Riding it, I've had it put together for over 2 years and I've put 200 miles on it. And
Wow.
I'm a single
Yeah.
dad. I work. I have other bikes as well. I don't have a lot of time to ride right now in my life, which is fine. And also why this bike is currently living in the house. Because I get more joy looking at it right now than I have been riding it. It's also a bike right now that when I have ridden it into town to go get some tacos or something, it's like, oh, well, the streets are wet. I'm not riding it, because I try and keep it all nice and clean. So I'm at a point with this bike where it's like either keep it like it is, enjoy it for now, like it is. And then maybe later on in life, I'll get to a point where I'm like, all right, dude, I'm just riding the wheels off of it now. Maybe somebody will want to throw a bunch of money at it and I'll sell it and buy one that I could ride more happily. I don't know. I'm at a point right now,
Keeping
but
your
really
options open.
I am keeping my options open, but at the same time, it's just this bike just is ready to get ridden. Like it's it's ready to go. It is literally new.
Nice. Does it have a nickname by any chance? And is there a backstory to that nickname if it does have one? And
It kind of does, but it's a really lame one, and I call it the 81 because I have a 1990 GS. I had a 12 that I just sold. I have a 19 GS as well. So, if and my 1990 is also a Paris Dakar version, so I can't call it the PD. I can't, So it's just it's just become the 81.
the
So
81.
yeah, that's it.
Hey, sometimes nicknames are just utilitarian. There's nothing
They
wrong
are,
with that.
yeah. I mean, if my brother calls me, he's like, "Hey, are you riding the 81 today?" I mean, it just
You know what he means.
that's right. Yeah, and vice versa. But so
um,
no real nickname at this point, but
Gotcha. Cool. Is there anything like annoying or finicky about owning this particular bike aside from the fact that maybe you're not riding it as much as you would hope?
not at this point. I saw that question. I was like, man, what did annoy me or what was finicky? And so when I bought this bike, like I said, it was all in boxes. I mean, it came with multiple diode boards and stuff like that too. So I had to go through that and figure out what looked, some of it was new, some of it was used. There was multiples of new, even it looked like, and it came with a brand new coil in the box. And so I got that, I put it in, and I rode this bike for about the first 80 miles, just banging my head against the wall, trying to get the carbs dialed in. And I know better. I'm okay with these being carbs. They're so straightforward. They're clean. Everything was brand new. And finally, I realized it was the coil. And I ordered a new coil and put it in there, and it ran like a champ. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. So the first, and I was riding it, a few miles at a time every few weeks or a month. And so the first few months, for sure, I was just banging my head against the wall trying to figure out why it wasn't performing right. It wasn't a shot coil. Obviously, it would run, but under load, it would act a little funny, and it would get warm. It would act a little funny. And so that one was pretty frustrating, but
Oh yeah, I bet.
it was a bad
So
coil out of the box.
wow, yeah. I mean, people say that happens. I've heard it before. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Kind of flipping that question on its head, what's the most surprising or unexpectedly delightful thing about this bike?
I mean, if you're not a GS guy, I don't really know how to explain it. But people just say that these bikes are just awesome little bikes. They're small, they're lightweight, they handle well. Every time I get on this bike, I ride it to town or go put 20 miles on it or something. I just go, good Lord, that's such a good bike. Just as a package in itself, it's smooth, it's light, it's comfortable. It has good power. I mean, just the whole deal is just awesome, man. And I really like my 1990. The 1990 one that I have has 125,000 miles on it or so. That's the one I
Wow.
get on, and I don't care. I'll go ride it anywhere, anytime, anyway. It is bigger and heavier and stuff too. And then I get on this one, I'm just like, what a little dream of a bike this is, man. I mean, they really are just fun, light, nimble bikes.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've always wanted to ride one. To me, they look like, I don't know, almost like the perfect motorcycle, right? Like even though
Right.
I've never owned or ridden one, I still look at them and say, man, like you could just get on those things and just do anything. You could ride for
Yeah.
miles on the highway, you could go off road, you could go on an adventure. I mean,
Yeah.
they kind of just fit whatever idea of riding is for you.
Right.
And so I totally get what you're saying there. So the last question, and I think it's the most important question. It's my favorite question. You know what's coming.
I do.
Does this bike have a soundtrack? And what songs, genres, artists would be on that soundtrack?
So I saw this one on your list, and that's a tough one for me because I listen to a lot of different stuff, from bluegrass to rap and country. I mean, all kinds of different stuff. And I'm thinking like, well, what do I listen to when I'm riding this bike, and what would this bike do? But just like you said, these bikes, the original GSs and all the way up to the modern stuff, I feel like are just kind of jack of all trade, master of nothing. And so I think just pick an eclectic mix and go for it, man. I don't know, from bluegrass to Indian music, anything in between. I just feel like that I feel like an old GS doesn't want to get put in a little niche, I guess.
I like it. Yeah, yeah. It kind of needs the music of whatever area it's currently riding
Yeah, yeah. There you go. I like that. Thanks.
through.
But really, I mean, if you have some kind of Aprilia super bike or something, like you can picture what that sounds like. You're like, I'm getting after it. This is going to be this. And it just doesn't. I couldn't come up with anything.
It kind of just takes the shape of the territory you're in.
Yeah. So I don't have a solid answer for that, but I think it's whatever you want it to be.
Love it. Well, that's the run of questions that I ask in all of these show and tell episodes. But I always like to give everyone an opportunity to tell us anything else about this bike that you find interesting, or that you love about this bike. Any other details that these questions don't cover?
Man, I don't think so. Like I said, it's an early model, first year bike, which kind of, in some people's eyes make it special. I mean, I think it's just a cool old GS, but it is according to the VIN on it, it's the 134th one ever built. And it's just, I couldn't turn it down when I was offered to buy it. In boxes of parts, and I'll send you some photos of how I bought it too, which was the way the guy laid it out just for sale was impressive. So you're looking at all these parts and just like, oh man, what am I getting myself into here? So it's just been a fun project, and I think it's like I said, it's not an original like back to factory restoration by any means. I mean, I didn't get any hardware with the bike. So I found a kit that was it was a stainless kit. It came out of Turkey, but it was all packaged. This is frame, this is that, this is engine, stuff like that. And so I was like, well, I think I'm gonna have to go that route because I don't have the original hardware. I didn't get any nuts and bolts, and I think this kit was 400 and something pieces. I mean, that's a lot to patch together there,
For sure.
But at the same time, it does have a lot of the goodies. I have the racks for it. I have full luggage for it. I have a Tombstone fairing for it. I have both the Volt and the TAC for it. So it does have kind of all the fun stuff with it as well. So it's a full package, and it's a lot of fun to ride and look at, and it's one of my favorite bikes ever made.
Cool, love it, awesome. Well, if you don't have anything else, we'll kind of wrap it up here. Folks, just I didn't get to say this at the beginning, but Eli, you did an interview with Darren a few years ago.
Yeah.
I think it was after you guys met up at the Handbuilt show a few years back. If
we
I'm not
did. This
mistaken.
bike was in the Handbuilt show that year. And I met up with him over at where he was staying, and we did a little deal with the 247 podcast. So met him there.
Right. Yep. So folks, I'm going to put a link to that podcast episode in the description of this episode. So if you want to jump in and hear more from Eli, hop into the description below and you can check that out. Don't forget to join the BMW MOA. They are our main sponsor. They keep the lights on around here. So you can get a membership for free. There's a link down there for that as well. Eli, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. Love the bike. Can't wait to see it outside the house a little bit more, but
yeah,
love it all the same.
Well, if you're ever in Central Texas, man, you're welcome to ride it.
Oh, nice. I love it. I might have to take you up on that one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Come on down.
Well, we'll at some point make it down. That's all we have for this episode, folks. Eli, thanks again. It was great chatting with you, and ride safe, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on the Short Wheelbase Podcast, presented by the BMW Motorcycle Owners of America. To join the club, visit bmwmoa.org. You can find full-length episodes of the excerpts heard here on the Airhead 247 podcast. The Short Wheelbase Podcast is produced and edited by Nick Malozzi. Audio segments by Jeff Glover. You can check in with Nick at Airhead Misfits on Instagram.